1, 2, 3, and we are live. Remember everyone, A's are for assholes and D's get degrees. And welcome to another episode. I'm here today with my longtime friend and college roommate from my freshman year, Dan Campbell. Dan, say hi to the audience.
How's it going, everybody?
And awesome. All right. I'm releasing the first couple episodes out in a batch. If this is your first time, this is the first episode you choose to listen to. Again, I'm going to describe a little bit about my background. I am, you would say, a very interesting college student. I have been to not one, not two, not three, but 4 different colleges in my undergrad. I have been to a small private school where I went to college with my longtime high school girlfriend and Dan Campbell, my original roommate. I have been to University of Arkansas, which is 71% Greek life and down south in the Bible Belt. SEC, big football school. Then I went to a small commuter school in the heart of the city of Boston, UMass Boston. And then now I go to the #1 party school in Massachusetts, UMass Amherst. You would say either this kid is very, very well versed in experience or he's an idiot. Would you say that's kind of... Have you met anyone else like me, Dan? Would you say in your time on this earth?
What was that?
I said, have you met anyone else like me? Would you say, could you describe someone with that kind of background? Have you ever heard of anyone else going to 4 different colleges? Probably not.
No, I definitely have not. I remember, like Jack said, we've known each other for a long time, and basically every decision that he moved to a different college, I was just like, dude, what are you doing? But I guess it's worked out.
Right? I like to say I'm very well experienced, and that is all life is about, right? You'd say that experience is the best teacher, and I have a lot of experience, so that's why I'm trying to share it with the masses so they don't have to go to 4 different colleges, because I've already done it for them, right? Sometimes the mistake you need to learn is through someone else, not through yourself.
I would also like to throw it out there that when we both decided to go to our first college, we were roommates, and he took his girlfriend with him from high school. I was also like, dude, this is gonna end bad. I don't know what you're doing there. And what do you know? I was right.
Sometimes you should listen to people close to you. It's like sometimes, when you meet your parents, and they say by the age of 12 that you're more. The people that you listen to close are your friends, whereas your parents are always there saying, hey, I've already done this, don't do this. But you're like, no, I'll listen to my 12-year-old friend that has never done it, but he's telling me it's cool, so I should probably do it, right? And I feel like the older you get, the more you realize, hey, maybe people that have done stuff actually know what they're talking about, and maybe I am not always right. But yeah, beyond that, Dan, so let's go a little bit about your experience, us growing up together, what you thought about college before you went to college, how your parents viewed college, your parents' generation, did either of them go to college? You have older brother and sister. Do you want to talk about a little bit of them growing up?
Yeah, sure. First, I guess thanks for having me.
As always.
It's been a great time. Before college, obviously, my idea of college was watching movies, and it was all about going in and getting drunk and having a fun time. And, you go, especially with social media, you go on things like TFM or whatever, and you're like, this is the way college needs to be. I need to go to one of these types of colleges, and I need to go to the sickest college and with the sickest parties and the hottest girls. But then, I ended up going to Snoozu, sorry.
Snoozu, baby.
Snoozu.
We are majoring in sports management, business, and partying. That was a segment that in our high school they had a show. I'm sure if you were in high school or if you were in college, maybe your school had a TV news that you'd run at some point done by the students, and they asked all the seniors where they were going for college, and they asked me and Dan at the same time, and we told them our majors, and we love to throw up the Z for the Snoozu, and then we said that we were majoring in, Dan, you are a business major, still correct?
Yes, so business major with a minor in mathematics.
Wow, very smart man.
Yeah. People love that. People are like, oh, when I have a mathematics minor, oh, you're really smart then, aren't you? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because you can be stupid, but just because you're good at numbers. Like that doesn't make you like the smartest person in the world.
Exactly, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. Is we're going to get very intelligent people, maybe people that think they're intelligent, and the audience can decide if they are or not. But I'm trying to distinguish the problem that just because you have a degree does not make you intelligent, and just because the college is almost a system in itself. Whereas if I went to Harvard and you went to Southern New Hampshire, does that make the person who went to Harvard more intelligent?
No, not necessarily. I mean, all that really means is that they put in a lot of time beforehand in the books and their extracurricular activities. But in reality, there's a lot of to be in an accredited university, you have to have the same outcomes, basically. Like everyone has the same outcomes. It's just the way that they are taught and like the way that what the teachers expect of you. So you're still learning the same things at a community college you would learn at Harvard, but
yes,
to a certain degree, right?
The thing you're getting from a Ivy League school is the difference in professors, right? So like,
so they might expect more out of you. You have to have a better understanding.
Well, yes, and
a deeper understanding,
as well as a teacher at Harvard. Like, there's not hiring person that graduated from SNU in history from Harvard. They probably either had been at Harvard so if you go to Harvard, that means you're probably in high school. You are more equipped to understand. You're like you put effort into that, and then you get a good grades, and you go like into an Ivy League. Therefore, you are like just more into learning at that stage. Not that saying grades are the most important thing, but you just think that you value your future more than the present, I'd say, right? That's what college is all about.
Yeah, and like also at the same time, a lot of people that do go to Ivy League schools, they went through better school systems than a public school. More times than not, because we have a friend that went to a very good private school, and he was basically saying that it's a breeding ground for Ivy League candidates.
Well, that's the thing, right? So we have people from our public school that have gone to Harvard. We actually have multiple people in almost every year.
But it's still few and far between.
But that also shows, right, that it's not the suit that makes the man, it is the man that makes the suit. So if you're intelligent and you want to work hard, it really doesn't matter where you are. But you need to understand too, there's a big difference though in between high school, right? High school, people at Harvard that have been in private schools and you're from a public school, they will still probably not think as you as intelligent regardless, right?
Right. They just kind of put a label on it.
So if you go to Southern New Hampshire and you go to Harvard, the same way as if I don't have a degree and you have a degree, I can speak logically, more intelligent, and have facts, but you can have a degree and you can tell me that you'll probably, if you have no understanding of what's going on, you're just going to assume that the person with a degree is more intelligent. Just because. But now the problem is when you look back on how America was first founded, it came from the Pilgrims, right? I worked as a pilgrim at Plymouth Plantation. And I also, actually, speaking of Ivy League schools, I worked with a girl who went to Harvard, and I worked with someone who was also valedictorian of BC. So she was the #1 student in her class from Boston College, a very prestigious school. She was an English major. She ended up going to study in Japan for a year after she graduated and taught English. And then she had a love for Plymouth Plantation, or just the way that she went there one time. And she just fell in love with how it was. And so she ended up doing that, right? So is that a waste of her degree? I would say yes, right? Not in a mean way, not in a, I don't think she's stupid for, following her passion, but, the same way, if you want to be a teacher and you go to Harvard, that's a waste. Go to a school it's a waste of talent, I'd like to say. And wasting talent is not always the best, but who am I to say what you should do with your degree or what you should learn? But
without a doubt, to go off that, I've been to definitely a few interviews where there's guys that they graduated from a good school and then they got their masters at a pretty good master's program, and then I'm sitting across the interview and then they can't even really look me in the eyes, and they're just uncomfortable being there, and their soft skills are very bad, and that doesn't mean necessarily that they aren't smart, but it kind of just goes to show that there are a lot of things you can learn outside of just what your college degree is. And like that doesn't, like the name of the college that's on your degree does not gauge the amount of intelligence that you have, the amount of skills that you necessarily have. There's a lot of things that you can learn on your own and through different experiences. Well, that's truly what intelligence is the fact that like you can learn through experiences.
Well, I like to think of it, right? So intelligence is being able to problem solve. And regardless of any work field, you are solving a problem so if you're a salesman, you're trying to solve some problem that someone doesn't even know they have. You're trying to explain to them they have a problem by not using your product or whatever. Or you are if you are a carpenter or a entertainer, your problem is that you will bring value to your life. All you're doing is trying to solve the problem that your value that you are selling brings to said person's life. Whereas you're not paid based on your degree, you're paid based on can you solve the problem. When you get hired for a company, they're looking to hire someone that will help solve the problem, whatever the company you're trying to work for is. Where the degree means that you were able to sit in class and you could solve the problem of you can put in the work and get something to show for it, which is like there's a history behind you that says that you can sit somewhere and do work and be successful at it. But the problem with that is we know kids that have paid to take online classes. Like in high school, there were people that were in online classes that would just, you go online, you cheat. People that we know in college, they do classes. They'll pay someone to take the class for you. College athletes have been in trouble in the past. Derrick Rose, he paid someone to do his SAT, right? So if you look at someone based on their resume, hey, maybe their resume says they are such and such, but it's more about the person that you are. And I believe that the best way to learn something, the problem that school teaches now is it's more about memorizing than actually learning. Learning means you can understand what you're saying. If you are saying something that is, you have a fact, right? If you have a statistic and you say a statistic, Dan, give me some random statistic that you want to think.
92% of statistics are made up.
Right, 92% of statistics are made up. And then, so why is that statistic important in the conversation you're trying to prove your point, right? So, but if you understand 92% of statistics are made up because statistics are just a way to throw off someone in a conversation to make your point seem more valid, all right, that is learning and understanding why you use statistics rather than saying facts. The problem with a lot of us now is we have opinions on things. We have the way that we see the world is not based on what we have learned, but what we have been taught, right? You should learn the world yourself. You should have guidance. That's why you want mentors. A teacher is supposed to get you to understand the information rather than memorize the information. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Well, yeah, the other thing, kind of going off like the statistic thing is, you have to understand what that statistic is trying to show and how they came up with that statistic, which is very important. Like, you have to you can come up with statistics, but like with how? Like you can, like say 75% of people don't understand, I don't know, anything. Like
I like to say, like 70% of college students are liberal, right? Why is?
Well, like you have to look at like who you surveyed. You could have surveyed, taken a population size of a very liberal school, and that's where you got your results from. Like you have to make sure that like you understand the background of where that statistic is coming from before you just decide that like that's real.
I like to think too, like in high school when teachers would be like, don't use Wikipedia, like cite your source, right? So it's like the whole like now problem with fake news, like where are you getting this information from? Your source is almost just important as the information that you're doing, but that's why the best information and the best source is yourself that you've seen and that you've done with your own eyes, right? So like I can read a bunch. I always like Good Will Hunting, right? If you've seen Good Will Hunting, it's about this janitor, intelligent, and he works at MIT as a janitor. He never went to college, and there's this math problem. He solved this math problem on the board that no one else in the class could solve, right? So that, again, kind of shows our point, like intelligence. Mm-hmm. That's a movie, right? And he is so smart. Will Hunting is his name, played by Matt Damon. Great movie. But he is so smart that he's read all this books, so he thinks he knows everything because he's read this information from the greatest people. And Robert Williams plays his therapist, and they're sitting there talking about Robin Williams' wife. She died, and he was talking about to Matt Damon's character that he doesn't know what love is. He can read all these books and hear all these songs and understand like, whoa, he would love this, but you don't know what love is until you're sitting there with your wife that you've been with your whole life, holding her hand, dying, right? So like a lot of us nowadays like to think we know information because I read some book. My dad told me this. I have friends that have told me this, right? And like if you listen to this podcast, you'll be like, oh, Jack said D's get degrees, so now D's get degrees. But like if you don't understand the information and you've never experienced something with your life, then you can't really fully have a true understanding of that, if I'm putting that into correct words, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, without a doubt, I mean, that was a pretty good example, but there are, like, I know Jack and I were talking about this maybe a few minutes ago as well, that, you know, you have, like, your parents always try to tell you that they do know, like, some of this stuff, and you're always, like, when you're younger, you're like, oh, no, I know exactly what I'm doing, like, at all times. But more times than not, you end up going through the same experiences that they screwed up with, and that's because like you're too ignorant to listen to someone that is smarter than you.
Well, that's our problem today. Most of us.
Yeah, exactly. That's like I know for a fact that I'm like that. I mean, I know you asked me earlier what my parents thought about like going to college and whatnot, and they were like, you have to go to college. You have to, yada yada yada. So like that made me believe that like, yeah, you do have to go to college. And not that I'm saying that going to college is a bad thing, but it's not quite as valuable as it used to be. And without a doubt, colleges just they are a business, and they're here to make money off of us. And we think that they're here to
help guide us.
Like exactly, like because that's kind of like what Jack's saying. That's what we're told, that they're here to help guide us. But in reality, like they do like helping people, but they're going to worry about themselves first. You know, they care about making money. Like, for example, you're going to UMass, Jack, but UMass is under a bunch of scrutiny right now because at the end of 2018, they gave all their executives huge bonuses of basically state dollars, and it was a total of $10 million in bonuses, and people are like up in arms because like, why are these executives of the school getting these big bonuses when you're a state school, and like you should just be taking that money and putting it back, giving it back to your students that you charge such stupid amounts for, type of thing.
Well, you need to understand too, like, what am I actually paying for, right? Once you like go to college, if you're in high school listening to this, or I mean, if you're in college, you understand it, right? You look at your forms and you look at all these random fees. It's like processing fee for a library,
student activity fee. Like, there's like if you don't, at the school I go to, you pay a student activity fee every semester, but if you don't join a club, you're not utilizing that money. But you have to pay it no matter what to be involved in a club. But say I didn't join any clubs, then I'm paying all of these fees for other people.
And I like to talk about this too, right? So we have friends that have, so we joined a fraternity in college. We have great college friends, I would say. But when we look at most of our friends, college is like, anyone successful too, I feel like, or most of people that weren't involved in something in college, their college friends aren't as great of friends as people make it out to seem, I would say, right? They're like, we have a lot of friends from back home that they don't really like, they're more excited to see their high school friends. And again, the reason that your high school friends are so important, as you grew up with them, they know you. College, your friends, they see you at the time in your life that when you arrived to college, rather than when you were in first grade, like I told Christian, eating boogers.
They don't know like the dirty, stupid things that you used to do.
They just know who you are. And again, in college, most people, they come to college, they're seeking to be something what they thought college was, right? So you're looking to party. You're looking to be your most outgoing self. I'd say that's what most of us going to college want, right?
Yeah.
We want to learn, but we're not. But in reality, we're not in college to learn, I'd say. I say we're in there to have a good time. College is college is more of like a vacation now from the real world. You don't want to start working. You want to be with as many girls as you can. You want to go to as many bangers as you can, party wise. You want to just like live it up. And then
Jack and I always used to say, or at the beginning of our college career, it was never about what did we say? It was, what are you going to remember when you die? Not the hottest girls you banged, it's the number. It's all about the number. Which is kind of ridiculous going back to think about it.
But like, yeah, right? So like, you say all these things, right?
That's what matters in life, is the amount of girls. Like, what happens if you like bang like a female trig?
That's
fun. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's like drinking, right? Why is drinking fun? Like, that is like, as you become a senior, right? Everyone's like, my freshman year was so much more fun than my senior. It's like, yeah, because your senior year, you realize that everything you thought was fun your freshman year isn't actually fun, right? And
I've read there's many. Here we go with one of these statistics for you, but I have read that statistically, people drink less throughout their college career because like they come in and like they're uncomfortable and they kind of think that that's what they have to do to fit in, is party and drink with the best of them. And then, I guess people are like, oh, like, I don't need to be blackout drunk to have fun.
Well, the idea that being blackout drunk is ever fun is ridiculous, right? Like, if you got so drunk that you don't remember your night, but so how
it's like, I got these funny videos of you doing this stupid thing.
But like, it's the idea, right? When you are drunk, doing stupid things is fun because you're drunk, not because doing stupid things is fun. A sober person would never do that, right? It's like when you're sober around drunk people, what do you say about drunk people? They are the worst.
Yeah.
So therefore, being drunk is the worst, and the only way to fit in, it's like if you're in prison and you're not a felon, you're probably like, man, dude, prison sucks. But if you're a felon, you're also like, prison sucks, but I'm stuck here. It's kind of like, it's a good example of being drunk. You're like, being drunk isn't necessarily fun. But if everyone else is doing it, I might as well. I guess I might as well do it, right? And that's the problem with, I think, that our society has grown up, like our generation is grown up thinking everyone else is doing it, and yet we all agree that things aren't correct. Most anyone in college will tell you college is a waste of time, and you only make out of it what you learn. Then
I was actually kind of going back like to a couple things you said a couple seconds ago, but I was a couple weeks ago. I was hanging out with my high school friends, and we were at the bar or whatever. And they were making fun of me or whatever because like I'm a lightweight, and then they were also making fun of someone else that didn't finish one of his beers, and it was like he couldn't even finish 2 beers, and they're making fun of him. And I was just like, all I could think about was just like who cares? Like I know we all think that, but deep down we think that, but it's like that. Some people think that like it's an example of why people just feel the need to drink and think it's cool. Like it's not cool to
be real.
It's not cool to be like the biggest booze bag.
No, what do you mean? But dude, like people get famous nowadays off like just being a booze bag. Like, oh, I'm the craziest partier. Like, I mean, what people aspire, like when you go on Instagram, you go on videos, the videos you like are people living extravagant lives, partying around the most attractive women, doing the craziest parties. But like,
are they actually having a good time? Like, how do they actually feel on the inside?
Yeah, you can't.
Like Dan Bilzerian or whatever. Yeah. It seems like he has a great life. Like he always has these wicked hot chicks around, big guns, big like salamanders and shit. But I'm curious if he actually feels whole.
Well, he said in interviews, right? So when he was originally in the military, and he said like he used to go to Outback Steakhouse and he'd be at like a 10, right? A 10 being the happiest you can be in the moment. He loved the food. Now he can be at the best club, bar, restaurant in the world. He's probably at a 7, right? It's kind of like
your expectations continue to get better as the more that they things exceed your expectations. So you want to like, it's kind of like drugs. Like you just kind of want to keep getting that like high over those fun expectations. He did also say something like he's banged so many hot girls that like he looks at a model and that a normal person would be like, wow, that girl is like drop dead gorgeous. And he's just like, yeah, I don't even like want that. Like I need someone hotter than that.
I also think as you get older too, you realize that if you think that you want to date someone just because they're attractive and you don't care about their personality, you're doomed, right? Most people, if you go in any relationship, if you're starting to date someone, be friends with someone because of what that's like, when people talk about getting famous, they get all these friends because they're friends with them. They just show up out of nowhere. Like anytime anyone in NFL or NBA gets drafted, they're like, oh, my cousin who I hadn't talked to in months. Oh, dude, suddenly, I've been your biggest fan. It's like, because you realize that people don't care until you have something to offer them, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like when you marry a girl, it happens all the time, like that song Jack and Diana, right? He was a football star and she was like the head cheerleader, and then she grew older and she probably wasn't as attractive as she was when she was 18, and they only were together because of the hierarchy of high school being like, I'm the quarterback, you're the cheerleader, let's be together. Mm-hmm. Where in reality, it's like if you grow any relationship based off something artificial, being like if happiness is from something material, you'll never truly feel fulfilled. And I think that is the biggest problem now, is we're all trying to be fulfilled by material titles, things other than just like who you are, right? Like
things that we're told are the coolest things. And it does that. Obviously, social media has a huge play on that, and like what we think is cool. And like really, what social media is it's like, here, I'm gonna post what I'm doing for everybody else to see, because like I want them to know that I'm doing this cool thing, so they almost want to be me. You know what I mean? Like they want to be in my shoes, and like that makes me feel better.
Why does that make you feel better though? Because any happy person will never be angry, right? If you're happy and someone says something mean to you, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. Like he's having a bad day. But then you realize that how many of us are just angry all the time, and it's not because we're not angry, we're just not happy with ourselves, and that's because you think you don't see yourself in a positive light, right? It's like we're talking about how like why people hate someone, or like why they why you hold grudges, right? And I had 3 points. One being that like either you just enjoy being an asshole, which isn't good, right? 2, you care so little about this person that you have to almost show them up by saying that you don't care about them, right? It's like there are people that like to you have the example of like someone that being they just like you had past problems with them and they won't let them go, right? A happy person will let something go, right? And then the third thing being like you see a little bit of yourself in them, and almost that makes you like that you either see them as better than you, but yet you see yourself in them, and you're like that almost
heads.
It like disappoints you, right? It's like any of my best friends, we are not similar, but we have similar traits, and that's what I think. The same way as like you don't want your girlfriend to be like you. You don't want the person you care about. Your parents aren't like you, but we're all similar. We have similar traits, and that's what makes you don't want to be around yourself all the time, because I drive myself crazy. You drive yourself crazy. Imagine being around people that were just like you all the time.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Four Agreements, but it's like an ancient Toltec wisdom book, and it talks about like people. Like say someone insulted me right now, and they're like, "Yo, you're just a pussy," or whatever. And if I get upset over that, then that basically means that I'm accepting the fact that like I am a pussy, and then like I subconsciously believe that I am. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to prove it wrong, but like that's what kind of like why I was saying that happy people are just like, oh, whatever. Like I don't really care because I know who they are, and that's why they continue to just be happy and not really take it in.
And like the more I've done research on like depression and why our generation, like why depression keeps to go on a rise, it comes back to this idea of religion. That like growing up, it goes back to the college thing too, right? So growing up, America was founded on like blue collar, hardworking people, right? So college in our grandparents' generation, college was something that only probably 1 in 10 people got to do. It was the most intelligent people. They were going
people with the money.
People with the money, and like most.
Also, if you think about it too, people with the money are the only people like way back in the day that like were taught to read.
Exactly right, because it goes back to like how companies don't want you smart enough to do company work on yourself. Like companies don't want workers that could be like, oh wait, we could just go start our own company and be a competitor. They want you just smart enough that you can do the work, but not.
That's why have some people sign non-competition agreements.
Exactly, right? Because you'll learn how the business is run, and then you're like, oh, now if he leaves, he can't go start his own and be better than us. But so back in the day, right? America's found on hardworking blue collar people. And so like they're like all our grandparents were like all of our moms and dads, we want them to go to college because college is such like a great achievement. So then most of our parents, college, they started being a lot more colleges. College started to be a little bit easier to get into. It was not as expensive as it is now. But then all of our parents went to college. And then now they're like, well, I went to college, and the only way to be successful is to go to college. So now you have to go to college. Yet college prices have risen exponentially, and yet there's really no big difference in what, like, why does college price go up? Well, it has to do with inflation or something. Well,
yes. But it also comes down to, like, I remember I said it before, it's just a big business. Like, people are making their livings off of it. You know, like, SNU made $600 million in profit. Like, off of students.
Like, well, I always like
people trying, basically investing in themselves.
Investing in themselves, what, right? But
that's what
you think you're doing,
right? And you can, like, we had like, I remember Jack and I had this conversation one time that you don't want to be, like, if you go to school, you don't want to be the guy in the middle. All right, you either want to be, working really hard and getting really good grades and doing the like everything you can, and that's investing in yourself. But then being in the middle where you're just around getting B's and stuff, that's not really doing anything. You're just being a normal person. You're not setting yourself apart. But then you either want to be at the top like that, or you want to be at the person that sees what you're doing, that I can invest in myself outside of school, and I'm just not really I'm gonna get my degree and get out of here and not really try too hard, but I'm going to look for, like, the college experience type of thing. Like, you want to be the top working hard, or you want to be the guy that just kind of, like, gets his way through with D's?
Yeah, exactly, right?
You don't want to be that guy that just gets C pluses and B's, because then you have nothing to offer, either experience-wise or...
You're not being real with yourself.
Yeah.
You think... People have this tendency to think if they're doing a little bit more than they were yesterday, that they're making some great improvement, right? Like, if I don't go to the gym today, but I go to the gym tomorrow, well, I'm 100% better person, right? Well, I don't party every night. I party 3 nights a week. So, I'm better than the people that do it every night. I'm better than the people that, but I get to have more fun than the people that aren't partying.
But you're comparing yourself to other people, but, like, that's just because, like, you're setting your standards to what other people believe.
A smart man once said, don't compare yourself to someone else, compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Because if you're comparing yourself to everyone else, it's like, well, you're not everyone else. It's like, if I drop out of school and I think I'm Bill Gates, well, you're lying to yourself, because I guarantee if you're dropping out of school, you're one of 2 reasons. You're probably shouldn't have been in college to begin with, and you're just like being like, well, college is stupid. Like, the problem is too, a lot of people like will go to college and say that college is stupid, but the problem is you probably should never been in college to begin with.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than, like, when you're in college and there are kids that you're like, dude, like, how did this guy even pass high school? And this kid's getting the same degree as I am. Like, he's still going to finish because all he has to do is, he's a bare
degrees,
minimum.
baby.
Get a couple D's and he's fine. But they're like, this kid is just an absolute moron. He can't even formulate a sentence on a piece of paper.
He can't probably tell you why he thinks what he thinks, but he can tell you that he's like this. The dumb people are the most strong, opinionated people that you'll meet, right? Their opinions are so strong, and they will not budge at all because they're right, but, like, they don't understand why you think that. And, like, I think the problem is now we all need to understand why we think what we're thought. Like, just because my mom tells you something, just because your dad tells you something, does not mean that is correct. You need to do the research yourself. Everyone now talks about fake news and blah, blah, blah. But, like, the idea of fake news is, right, there's a fact-checking website because you're supposed to know. But, like, all of us, how do we know that anything we've been taught wasn't false? Just because, like, now it's, like, a big deal you got to fact-check? Like, why weren't you fact-checking on your own? It's like you listen to people tell you things that you probably never even, like, you don't understand. Like, once you realize that, hey, maybe if you can learn something for yourself, you can prove them wrong, or you can realize that, hey, maybe what I'm being taught isn't correct.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact quote, but I saw some picture the other day with a quote on it, and it said, it's basically talking about the problem of letting the government run our education system, because I don't remember the exact wording of it, but basically it's saying that like if we let the government control our education system, like that was letting them control what they essentially want us to think, and they're not giving us, like, public school systems aren't exactly giving us the best opportunity to learn. They're kind of just putting us in the system, training us to be in the system. Yeah.
That's like one of our friends the other day.
I forget what the name was.
He said that school teaches you to sit in a 9 to 5. Therefore, I want to work a 9 to 5, and I thought that was idiotic, right? Why? So school puts you in a position to work a 9 to 5 because they want you to work a 9 to 5 because that's what they're telling you you're destined for by being in school, right? But then the problem is too, right? So then you'll have kids that will take. People like to take what you say too, right? So we said that, right? So someone out there will be like, well, should I just drop out of high school? No, you shouldn't, because intelligent people won't drop out of high school. Intelligent people will get the high school degree. It's about what you take from the experience too, right? It's like if you're in college and you're doing some degree that is dumb, that they're realistically most jobs won't hire because there's like such a small select few and you are not putting in all the effort, then you need to be realistic with yourself and understand that you probably will not get a job in that field. And then you need to also be realistic with yourself and understand that after you get out of college and you're in all this debt because you spent 4 years at a small private school where they let 95% of the people that applied in, you're $100,000 in debt and you don't even know what you want to do with yourself, you can't tell me that college is supposed to be the best 4 years of your life because that was worth it. No, you can admit that you did something wrong and that being in college was dumb, but at the same point you need to also admit that like college was not for you and you just wanted to party.
Kind of going on with Jack saying, I was one of those people that like worked very hard. Like I have a GPA, I'm like above 3.7 cumulative GPA. Like I've been my leader, just absolute genius, let me tell you. But then like I have people, employers that always hit me up and are like, you have like one of the better resumes that I've seen kids coming out of college with, but the thing they're still looking to hire me with is still an entry-level sales job. It's very, like, you have to be like a very ridiculously niche special person, which like everybody's capable of doing, but to get that job out of college where you're really doing what you want and you're making that money. But like realistically, most college degrees are going to get you an entry-level job. Very rare amount of people come out of college with something where they're making 90 plus K a year.
So my story.
So that basically kind of like what I'm saying is that like kind of what Jack is saying, that like we think that this is what we need, but it's not necessarily what we think. Exactly. We're kind of told that it's, you do it for your future, you invest in your future, but like if you spent those 4 years that you spent at college learning yourself, I guarantee you probably would have learned more and have a better understanding if you did have like the capability to do that. Like if you were consistent with your work and like had the grit and determination to do it.
Exactly, right? So I point back to, I went to college as a sports management major because I like sports. I feel like that's a lot of things now. People like sports. They want to do sports management. It was pretty much business degree, but just emphasizes sports, which is the same thing. But it's
the lowest paying degree.
Exactly.
Besides what, like criminology or something, or criminal justice?
Or is it liberal arts? There's like the problem is like two statistics, like it's like 70 or 60% of college grads like don't have degrees, but then like you're counting all like the theater majors and like all the degrees that are very small markets to hire, and they're like won't just take any job.
One of our friends, he graduated with a mathematics degree and he ended up in a entry level recruiting position.
As my dad's a perfect example of that. High level exec for a top 10 industry, $1 billion industry, and he has a criminal justice degree.
Yeah, my dad got a biology degree because he wanted to be a veterinarian, and
now he sells paper.
Then he was a career salesman.
Right, so
very good at it. So that's not really the point.
But once you learn that that the degree means nothing. And now most companies will hire you too with experience because they're like, oh well, like there are more companies made and fail all the time, and they just need bodies, man. They're like, people need to hire people to work. It's very hard to get good employees because most of us like to think of ourselves as intelligent employees, but most of us are probably that guy that's like, we're just this. I heard that it's like half of your workforce does like 70% of the work. So it's like if there are 10 people in the company, that 5 people are doing 70% of the work. And if you've been in any organization, even in the school project where there are 4 people in a group,
one person does the work.
Exactly, right? So most of your workforce is built off your top level earners, and that's in sales. Like most of your sales, like you have 3 like alphas, and then the rest, like you're hoping that like they can get you something. But you're relying, even like in the sports team, right? You need the team to be good, but you're hoping you have one superstar that can take you over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, if you've been in the world long enough, if you can pick up on things like that, you see that is like that in any field, in anything in life. That is how it is done. And
yeah, within sales, it's like no matter like what it is, like they can try and say that like you have a competitive rate, you have a competitive salary, or like your commissions are very competitive, but reality, like whatever they try and say, it's all the same. It's all like the same exact percentage. And it's, I'm pretty sure this is what they mean by that. Well, there's different aspects of the 80-20 rule, but most businesses run off like the fact that like you put in 80% of the work and you bring in, you do 80% of the work and you're going to get 20% of the result, basically. And that's kind of the way it goes to the company. Like you're putting in 80% of that work, you bring in, $100,000 worth of income in a sales role, but you're going to be making like 20% off that. And the company's going to be taking the other 80%.
And you need to realize that, wow, like how much money, like you think like, okay, so you're getting a cut of that, right? So you think you're making so much money, but then you realize how much money you're making for the company. You're like, oh wait, this is a steal. Like I'm slave to them almost, right? It's like,
there was this one guy at my internship this summer that he made 3 deals. He's one of the best insurance salesmen in the country. And he made 3 big insurance deals that are worth, over $1.5 million, but he only made like $200,000 in commission. Which is still, a decent amount of money, but like compared to the amount of money that he worked to sell, like those deals he made 3 or 4 deals within a year and made that much. Like he's working so hard on those just couple of deals.
So what the thing is you learn from this, right, is you're like, okay, so I'm going to work hard. So all right, I get screwed no matter what, and I'm probably not smart enough to start my own business, or I don't care enough. I don't even know what I want to start, right? So what should I do? What should my meaning be, right? And then as someone that wanted to be an actor and like the idea of being famous, right? And then you think about what is actually being famous, okay? It's people that you don't know saying that they care about you. But like, why do I want people that I don't know caring about me? It's like you learn in life. Life is more about being around people that you care about and just being happy with. Like, you don't need to make an impact on the world to have a meaningful life. If you make a meaningful impact on the people you care about the most, you've lived a great life. And it's very tough. And growing up now to understand that, right? Like, so everyone wants to make the biggest change in their life. Like, everyone's a social justice warrior. Everyone wants to end poverty. It's like, you can't even say, like, I love you to your mom. Like, how about you do that first and you make your bed before you go out trying to be like, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to make the next Instagram. I'm going to make the next Facebook. It's like, dude, you can, like, barely sit in an easy A class and, like, let alone how are you going to try and like sit down and learn how to code in something. Like your idea is so great. If your idea is so great, go and do it. Well, eventually I'll do it. It's just not the time. And most of us just need to be real. It's like your personality is who you are. Mm. Your personality will never change. It's like you are who you are. Now, your personality will stay the same, but what you think is important will change, but you're still going to act in the way that your personality has defined that you will act. You will just, what you talk about and what you think is important will change.
Yeah, I like motivational speeches a lot. One of my favorite ones is Matthew McConaughey's, and he talks about figuring out, who you are. And he's like, if you can't figure out who you are by saying this is who I am, you figure that out by saying this is who I'm not, and starting with that, and then after a while you almost accidentally figured out who you are by eliminating who you're not. And that's basically, I guess you could kind of say that's essentially this like life in a very, watered down version. Because, I could say that the thing that college gave me the most is, yes, like I learned some things about business and how to manage in a classroom, but, everything that I actually learned was in, experiences, good and bad. And those bad experiences basically gave me the opportunity to eliminate the things that I'm not, to figure out. I'll get a better understanding of at least who I am. There are still definitely things that
you don't know.
I don't know, and like that I
probably
need to eliminate from my everyday life, but we'll get there.
Well, you do know. The problem is,
right.
like, we all know the things that are bad for us. We all know deep down who we really are, right? The problem is looking yourself in the mirror and admitting to yourself why we do the things that we do, right? I've gone to all kinds of colleges that you could have ever imagined. I went to college with my girlfriend from high school. I went with my best friend. I've experienced the craziest parties that you could imagine. I've had some of the things that like kids dream about, and I'm very grateful for that. That's the thing too. Like,
but like kind of like what you're saying is you always know what you're. There's always an inner voice telling you exactly what you are doing, whether or not you actually like it or not.
Right. So like deep down, like
just gotta like kind of listen to it.
You like to think like so. Like I've been to a bunch of schools, and I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy having conversation. I enjoy this kind of conversation. That's why I started a podcast, right? Because I like being able to sit here and talk with people and like us have real meaningful conversation, because most of us don't do this anymore, right? Most of us rather sit in a room, play Xbox, and listen to music. I love doing that too. But at the same point, like most of us don't want to talk about real things and who we really are and what really is important and why we think the way we think, because it's like it's scary sometimes, right? When you build your whole identity based off this thing that you're not, and then someone tells you that you're full of shit because you're sitting there like posting all these pictures trying to bang all these girls, that deep down you're like you just want like a meaningful relationship. That's like very scary to think about deep down. And you can like go on this tangent of like, well, like, I just want to, like, grow up, man. I just want to be a kid. I just want to, like, experience these 4 years because these things matter to me. Like, guess what? Anyone in a happy, like, loving friendship, life, relationship, like, they don't care about that stupid shit, man. Like, ask someone that's, like, deeply in love with something. They wouldn't trade that for the world, for all the parties or all the Tinder girls that you've had sex with, man. Like, that doesn't mean nothing because you're not actually happy and you just want to fill it with meaning. And I don't know, like that's, as I've experienced it, I've met people from all, like, intelligent people from all over the country. People are the same, man. We're all the same. Like, we all talk a little bit different funny, and we all do different things, but, like, we all deep down are just, like,
looking for what we are.
Yeah, but we are who we are, and that's okay, man. Like, you don't need to change your personality. If you're quiet, you're outgoing, like, you're always going to be outgoing. But that doesn't mean, like, the minute something bad happens in your life that you need to go to something that you're not. And that's a problem a lot of us have, right? It's kind of like, okay, you date a quiet girl, and then you break up, and then you date, like, the party chick. Or you're at, like, a job that's business, so you go do something, like an office job, and then you're like, I need to go out and, like, an adventure job, right? It's like the grass isn't always greener. And, like, complete change isn't always necessary. Like, sometimes you just need to fix who you are by admitting who you are. And, like,
yeah.
But that's like, it's a very simple thing, as life really boiled down to life is very simple. But it's very scary to implement once you grow up thinking that is the wrong way to live.
That kind of goes back to, like, it's like, but it is... Like what you said, it is hard to look in the mirror and tell yourself, like, this, admitting who you are, but, like, it's very difficult to do that because it is, like, somewhat scary, but, like, that kind of goes back to the thing that, like, you gotta first eliminate, like, what you know, what makes you feel bad. Like, things that, like, you do that, like, when you listen to your inner voice and you're like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyways because it's, like, fun. And, like, yeah, well, whatever. But Like those are things that like you do like have to eliminate from the equation.
But I don't know how you can't really eliminate that if you like. It's like, okay,
it's hard to do in like situations like college because like college is literally like, all right, I have just been on like a week long like binge of just partying because it's syllabus week, and then you're like, all right, I'm not drinking this weekend, and then 3 people come in the door with a bottle of booze, and you're like, yo, we're drinking, and it's like, nah, I didn't want to drink, but it's like, nah, we're doing it. It's like, shit, like and then you almost just like, since it's in your apartment, you just want to be hanging out, and like then people are like all around getting rowdy. You're like, ah, shit, like I'm just gonna drink too, because like it seems like it's fun, but then it's like it's weird how college kind of does that thing to you, which is very interesting. Like it's weird how it also changes over time. Like that's what you think you want to go in for, but then after a while, you kind of grow up and you're like.
They're like, oh wait, this is like this is not
getting annoying.
This is not a sustainable life. But what do you mean? They made it seem like it was the only way to live, and then you're like, oh wait, that doesn't work. And then you're like, oh wait, but I want to be the biggest movie star in the world. I want to own $1 billion industry, man. And you're like, oh wait, that's like takes super commitment to only doing that. It's like, oh wait, but they have the interviews, and like The Rock says, he's like, dude, he wakes up at 4 a.m. every day and he grinds. It's like. I wake up at like 6 a.m. and I go to the gym like 3 times a week. I'm like pretty much The Rock, right? It's like, no, you either got to be all in, or you're not. You can't be in. You can't be with two kings, right? And that being like, you can't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, 1 foot in one thing and 1 foot in the other. You got to be all in something, or you need to realize that, hey man, maybe you're not destined to be the greatest of all time in your industry. But guess what? That doesn't mean you can't be the greatest you, which is like not like some like Buddha, like I'm the greatest me. That means like you're great to the people you care about and you're kind to everybody else. Like that's all it takes to be a good person. And like I feel like that isn't the image now is like I'm all about myself and fuck everybody else. No, man. You can be about yourself, but you can want to help out others too. Like not everyone is out to get you unless you think everyone's out to get you. Your mind is more powerful than you think it is. And like yeah.
I mean, yeah, the other kind of Chip Gaines, he's the owner of Magnolia Farms, and he's on that show Fixer Upper with his wife, Joanna Gaines. Yeah, and I read his book over the last couple weeks, and it's interesting because he feels as though he's a multi-millionaire. He's like set in life, but he doesn't feel like he had a good day. Like he does not feel good about himself unless he, wakes up and feeds all the, animals on his farm, and then he goes to work, and like if he doesn't come back with bruises and like a good day's looks like sweaty work,
nice hard day's work,
then he feels like he didn't do anything. Like he doesn't like that feeling like where he's in an office all day. Like he films that show, Fixer Upper, and he obviously likes doing that show because it helps him make money, but he hates doing that. Like his favorite part of the job is like the demo where he's just smashing like things up and then building it again.
Where he's being like a man, like doing manly work, it's like using your body, like.
And that's like that is why he basically became successful. Is that he liked putting in those hard days work, and like he just didn't really sit around like doing things that he knew wasn't going to help him in the end. Like he made a bunch of terrible business decisions without a doubt. Like he had to learn how to be a businessman through experience, and he still isn't the best businessman, but he knew that, like he knows how to like work hard, and like that's what he enjoys doing.
Well, that's the thing too, right? So like going into college, right? In high school, looking in at college, like I would always be like, well, do I want to go to I always thought I want to go to a big party school because like I
also wanted to go to Duke because Duke's just the best.
And that's when you realize
like
Coach K, college sports, right? How big? That's why like schools pay so much money for their sports teams because college is based on their sports teams.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I like to party in high school, so I want to go to a school where I can be around a bunch of different people and go to big parties. Like the idea of a small school, like originally when we came to SNU, I thought it was 15,000 students but that was the online population, right? But the campus is like 3,000 students. And that's why one of our former fraternity presidents, shout out to DJ Nate, called it SNU High. Why is it SNU High? Because you go around, everybody knows everything. When there were 3,000 people, same way in high school, right? freaking Dan can't walk in graduation, everyone knows that Dan can't walk in graduation. Everyone knows all the secrets because it's a small community. And I used to think that was such a terrible thing, man. Like, I don't want a small community. Like, you don't want to, like, have sex with a girl and then, like, see her in the cafeteria. You want to have sex with a girl and, like, never see her ever again. And that's why it's
that's
cool.
College.
When you go to Arkansas, you go to, like, these big Amherst stuff, right? College, banging all the chicks, drinking all the booze, dude, freaking booze bag. That dude, Animal House. But, like, the small community is the best community because, like, you know it's real. Big things, right? Twitter, Instagram, it's like, I have 1 million followers, I get a tweet, I can tweet out at everyone. But then you're like, you're so, you don't mean anything in that grand scheme. And you're, regardless of, it's like there's a big hierarchy, but even at the end of the day, it still doesn't matter. It's like, the people that I want to talk to in person. The people I want to hang out with, I want to hang out with. Like, the people I'm friends with, I don't talk to every day because I don't need to talk to them every day because I don't care to talk to them every day because when I see them, they're my friends and they're always my friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, then on that note too, it's just like you can only do so much partying in your life. And if you think, like, that's why, like, you'll hear all those stupid things, like all those, like, self-help guys, it's like, or all those big successful businessmen. I gave up partying at the age of 25. And then you realize, like, you know, you spend so much money if you jewel, if you go buy alcohol. Like, yeah, $20, it doesn't seem like nothing, but, like, then you spend $20 every week for 16 weeks. How much money is that, audience at home?
20 times
16.
That's $3,200, I think. Or is that $320?
$320.
Yeah, $320. College mathematics minor.
Wait, it's like, no, I might be wrong, right? Either way, both numbers are, that's
a lot of money.
A lot of money, right? What can you buy with $320? You can buy an Xbox. You could buy podcast equipment.
Yeah,
and you can.
I don't know if, like, anybody else has ever felt this, but, like, I definitely feel this. Like, you go out to, like, a party or whatever, and, like, everybody's just talking about, like, meaningless shit, and you're like, why, like, basically, like, why am I here? Like, I'm just bullshitting a conversation about stupid shit that really does not give me an understanding of, like, who you are. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, guy here, I'm going to tell you this really cool story about how, like, this crazy shit I did with my friends back home, and we jumped off this bridge when we were hammered, and it was so fun, but then one of them broke their leg, and it was crazy. You know, like, it almost like kills the party thing after a while, because then after a while it's just like, I'm getting bored with all these just, like, dumb conversations.
Well, that's why
you only have so many dumb conversations in your life.
And people just keep getting dumber and dumber, man. It's crazy.
And then if you go and party with the same people over and over and over, it's just like you run out of those dumb conversations, and then it's just like, what am I doing?
You get to a point in your life where you can't do small talk anymore. And some people, they go longer. Some people, I feel like I'm at that point now. I'm 22 years old, and I can barely do small talk. It's just, there's only, like, if you want to just talk about meaningless stuff, I don't even want to talk to you, because that means you're probably, like, I don't know. But the problem is, like, well, that's what, like, right? So college. So if you're not part of an organization, I'm in a fraternity. I was lucky that we would throw the parties. We'd have 30 people, and we knew a bunch of sisters. So we'd have, like, 60 people at a party that you would know. That's kind of like being in high school where you know everyone. It's great. You can walk around. You have someone to talk to that you personally know. Where most kids, when you're not part of something, like when you're with your 4 dude friends and your 4 friends that are girls and you walk into a party, you're talking to your 4 friends and your 4 friends that are girls, and they're like, and then you realize when you're a guy, you can't really get into college parties without girls. But you need, like, 30 girls, where girls, they get... But then it's like, so you're at a party with people you don't know, doing not what you want to do, sitting there looking to either hook up with someone, so then you're like, I'm cool, or you're just, like, drunk and you're just going back. The best example of... If Drake had the song, and has the best song lyric, he's like, I think we're in love with naked pictures and talking about the girls that we almost had, right? We always want to, like, go back to the party, be like, dude, this chick was so hot, we totally made out, and then, like,
never saw her again.
Never saw her again, dude. But I totally would have smashed if, like, if I see her again. I promise I will. It's like, wow, man, that's funny. Like, yes, and again,
I was probably hammered.
You were hammered,
and, like, you probably barely remember what she looks like.
But it was like, and the problem is when you have this conversation too, it's like, well, can I never do those things? No, man. Moderation is good. Partying is great, man. You work really hard for something, you need a night to let rest, right? God made the world in 6 days. The seventh day he took a rest, right? So like the word, like you can deserve time to rest. You can deserve time to have fun, but you can't lie to yourself and say, hey man, I drink a beer. I get kind of buzzed every night. I smoke weed every day. And then you're like, well, why do you smoke weed every day? Well, dude, because I love smoking weed. It's like, no, because you don't like feeling like yourself. And like, not to say smoking weed is bad, because like, you know, every blunt, nice, like every once in a while makes you chill, man. But like, you don't need to be feeling that way all the time, because that means you don't even know what feeling like yourself is anymore.
Yeah, I used to be that classic kid that was like, yo, I can do anything high in the exact way. Like, doesn't affect me. Like, I just go, I'm high all the time, and I can still play like varsity basketball, but like in reality, like I go to my basketball games high as shit, and then my coach would take me out like a minute 20 seconds into the game because I couldn't fucking play defense. But in reality, and I never really admitted the fact that it's because I was high. But then it's like in hindsight, it's like you can't just do things when you're high. It's just way harder. It's back. Like there's nothing better than the sober self.
And like if you don't like. It's like, why do you like getting drunk? Because you can be more yourself, right? Because you're not anxious,
you're not
right?
scared yeah.
Because you can blame it on we all like having, like, so if I'm sober and I do something stupid or say something stupid, like I can't blame it on me being drunk or high, or like it was just like my actual thought, right? But when I'm drunk and I yell at my girlfriend, tell her she's stupid, I was drunk. I don't think she's actually stupid. It's like a drunk man is a sober man's thoughts, right? So it's like, well, okay, so where did that information come from then? Like, why did you say this? Well, no, it wasn't me. It was just the drunk me. It's like, well, so drunk you has completely different thoughts than you. And then, like, as you get older, you realize, like, hey, man, that's, like, just be honest. No one ever got in trouble for being too truthful. The only time you get in trouble for being truthful is when you lie all the time. And, like, that is, like, what you come down to. And that goes back to looking yourself in the mirror. It's like, when you're not truthful, if you're not truthful about situations, it will always come back and bite you in the end. And like, it may not be right away. You can lie your way.
It always comes.
It always comes. And
always comes.
And that's like, sometimes you just need to, like, if you get caught lying, just be a big man. Just be like, you got me. And like, try not to do it again. Got me. You're right. But like, it's like another thing too, when you don't lie all the time, is you don't got to remember your lies and remember what you said. It's like any good story, not like any truthful story shouldn't sound the same from a perspective of like, so if there was like something like a party, like, and there are 20 different people there, they're all going to have a different take, and it's not going to sound exactly the same, but they're going to have the same general concept. Whereas when you're lying about a story or lying about something, you're going to have the same story. You're going to make sure that like,
Details.
Like, what are the details?
But there is. I remember I watched this thing. They were talking about. It was a psychologist that talked about how you can tell people are lying and so forth, and how people are being truthful. But one of the things is like, with like when people are lying is they have all these details in line, but like people that are being truthful don't notice some of these, like some very, very fine details. Like the example, I forget what the show was. It was The Innocent Man on Netflix, and they were doing he was looking at a false confession, and they were talking about these very fine details about the exact color and design of this girl's shirt that they were trying to convict him of murder for, and he didn't know any of this stuff. But so that's how the guy knew he was truthful. But then later on in the confession, the cops almost coerced him into telling him that he did know exactly what she was wearing, and those were fine details that he shouldn't know from a psychology perspective. From a psychology perspective,
right? So when you're telling the truth, you're just like going off the top of your head. Like when you tell a truthful story,
you don't know. You don't. There's details that you just don't pick up on. But like a lie is like you're like, oh, I gotta have all my
It's all your holes plugged. Yeah.
Like everything. Like everything's going to be perfect in line.
It's got to be like, it's like, where were you that day? Well, I woke up at 6 o'clock. I had a sandwich, and then I went
6:07. Yeah. With a little bit of mustard, and then
I went for my 7 o'clock stroll, and then it's like I was doing this, and then I noticed like my neighbor and he was
So
out in a
weird,
red shirt.
man. Yeah.
Where it's like you're done.
There was a bird in the tree. It was a little off. He might have done it.
Because like you need to think about how you actually tell a story when you're being like when you're genuine about something. It's like when you talk from the heart, man. Like you're gonna have passion in your voice.
One of the things that I also like learned through college too is like, you know, some people, like a lot of people like say that they care about things, and they do a lot of surface level things to show that they care, so outside world sees like you care, but then you won't do like the nitty gritty work that if you really cared, then like you would worry about those things, because those things are important. Those things affect a lot of people.
Can you give an example of such thing, like an idea, but like what's something that people in college say they care about?
All right, I mean, I guess like let's put it this way. Basically, the thing is, every college and university, like they experience hazing. Like their clubs and groups, their sports teams, they all experience hazing.
Which is, but before we
Which
had
is a fact.
We had no, but on that point though, me and if you listen to the episode with me and Christian, we talked about hazing, about how it's a humbling experience, and I think every human being needs to be humbled, right? If you walk around like you are alpha, your shit don't stank, like that's not good for you. Mm-hmm. And it's not like everyone needs to be humbled, because like we're not all the shit, man. Like you're not your shit does stink. Like you need to be held accountable for things, but like hazing is an extreme form of doing that in a sense, depending on what the activity is. But yes.
As long as you like, you know, you're not doing anything like ridiculous, I believe.
Not putting anyone in a position where, as down south, a lot of people die from hazing. It's because the problem with hazing though is like if I get hazed, I want to haze someone just, if not harder than I was hazed.
And then it progresses, and then that's usually how people die, because they don't understand the idea of progression.
Life is about lessons, but yes.
But for example, you know, here at my college, you know, there's this thing called like a culture of hazing that some universities have, and that's almost turning a blind eye to hazing. That's how you create the culture of hazing. Like the administration will turn a blind eye to the culture, and then when something pops up, they'll act like they care so much, and then, you know, clamp down on that group that committed hazing. So I guess my example is people that show that they care. For example, the conduct guy, he created this. There's this culture of hazing here, and like many groups do this without a doubt. People told me all about it, and the school doesn't really do anything to prevent this. They kind of turn a blind eye. They've admitted that they know many of the sports teams do haze, and they can't, quote unquote, can't do anything about it. Which is false. That if they go basically create this thing to get, it's like a food pantry for on-campus students, so they give away free food for people that need food and can't afford food, which is a very great thing. I agree with it. People, especially in college and in general, all need food to eat. And when you're in college, you don't have a lot of money to buy food. It's like sometimes, like I've stolen hot dogs because I haven't had.
But you'll spend $10 on beer.
Yeah, I mean, so my point with that is it's a very surface level thing. It's showing people that you care.
Just enough.
Just enough. But then in reality, like you won't look at the nitty gritty things. You won't go and put in the work to destroy that culture of hazing, and you say that you care about like hazing and how it's very bad, but they won't admit the facts, if that makes sense.
I understand that point, and that's also a point that I used to agree with, but now when I think about it from a logical perspective, it's like a lot of us like to think when we're part of something that we are not at fault, right? And then like, because we'll look at it like we're not the bad guy. It's like every story is like we're not the bad guy in the story, but then you need to understand too, right?
Everybody always does choose to haze, and we know it's illegal without a doubt. It is absolutely illegal, but there's still, like in my perspective, like there's the people.
There's the unwritten rules or something.
Not exactly that there's unwritten rules, but there's just people that don't want to really fix the problems. They want to make it known that they're fixing things. They want the publicity of fixing things, and they'll go around like and tell people like in high like that they're fixing these things and they're doing these great things, but then there's an underlying issue that they won't nip in the butt, and that will fix a lot of things. And they just want the public image. They want the surface level that everybody sees to see that you're doing a great thing.
Well, all of us in college are like all our college social justice warriors out there, right? They're making a difference, man. They're marching because they're trying so hard to make a change, but like it's all for like the fake. It's like when you donate to a charity, it's like
it's being part of a group.
It's like donating to a charity for the sake of I want to feel like a good person, so I donate to a charity because yes, I'm helping them, but I also get to then tell like myself like, hey man, I gave my like. There's a difference between doing something from the goodness of your heart, right? When you do something from the goodness, when I reach out to a friend that's upset, I'm doing it not because I need people to tell me that I'm a good friend. I don't care. I'm doing it because like I deep down care about them enough, right? So when you care for a cause, you deeply care about the cause. You don't need the gratification, right? So like when you give an anonymous donation, you're doing something because you just care for the cause, but you don't want to take the credit for it. So like when a school or someone, like a lot of college kids, a lot of college in general will go out and they'll be like, I want this surface level, I'm trying to make a difference. What do you mean? Like I donate to something, right? Like when you do charity, you can't be a bad person. How can they be a bad school? But this goes back to, right, so the idea of what do fraternities promote, right? They promote all the things that we just said college is a sham for. Like how this idea of partying, drinking is like how the world is seen, like how we see college going into it, and how in college you're told by the society of college that you're supposed to act. But yet we're also a big part of the problem.
Yeah, because we're part of the complex. Like we just, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like we like to think that, well, we have fun though, like, and it's like we're brothers, but like most of us aren't like, as like just because we're in a fraternity doesn't mean we're all friends, and just because like most of us are just friends when we're drinking and we only hang out when we're partying, and it's like that's not what the idea. Well, the idea of the bullshit about fraternities in general is that they were started to be something for, like, fraternities literally have a charity associated with them to make it seem like they are better. It's like, no, they're hazing kids and we're getting drunk and we're being party animals, right? Like you watch Animal House, like they literally tell it right to your face. But like, there's nothing wrong with that image, but it's like a white lie, right? Like, you know what's really going on, but we're just not going to touch it. We're not going to actually put in the work to stop it. It's like, well, like, we are hypocrites here being like, college drinking is not bad, but yet we're part of a fraternity, and I love my fraternity, and I love my fraternity brothers, but at the same point, it's like, yes, like, I contributed to the problem. It's like, I want kids I can party with. Like, that was one of my things in college, being like, what do I want from college? What do I want of a new member to join my fraternity? And, like, we don't think about the things that we're already a part of when we're discussing problems, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, yeah, we all, like, going off the fact that, like, yeah, you, like, it kind of goes back to the thing I was talking about. Like, you almost accept the problem. Like, you accept the problem, like, when people say that, like, oh, all you guys do is, like, booze and haze people. Like, that's, injects, it's not necessarily false at all. Like that's not all like fraternities do, but like that is definitely,
we're more than those things, but those are two of the biggest aspects that we are associated with.
Yeah, and it's like you almost inject saying that like we kind of contribute to the problem. Like, yeah, we kind of accept that coming in, and like that more or less is playing into that system, that culture of this like turning a blind eye.
It's like when you break the law, it's like, okay, like breaking the law, right? It's like, okay, if you get pulled over and you're not wearing a seatbelt in some states, except for New Hampshire, live free or die, no seatbelts and no motorcycle helmets, that makes sense. But
yeah, I know, that's so dumb.
But
you should definitely wear a helmet when you're riding a bike.
Well, it's like if I crash, I'm probably gonna die anyway. I'm like, okay, well,
at least you won't have a concussion.
Exactly. But other than that point being like, right, so you break a law, you get pulled over for not having a seatbelt. Or you get pulled over because you stabbed, or you get arrested because you stabbed someone, right? Both breaking the law, two different incredible standards of things that you're doing. One person is a lot worse than the other, but you're still both breaking the law. It's a lesser of two evils, but it's still an evil. And again, not wearing your seatbelt, I should have used a better example of like comparing murder to not wearing your seatbelt. But the point being, yes, we can all be for the greater good, but we're all contributing to the evil in a sense.
Yeah.
And there's like, everyone likes, like, we all like to find things and, you know, make them fit our morals, make them fit our idea, and, like, you know, be like, okay, well, it's like wars.
You can twist things to fit your beliefs any way, shape, or form. Or, like, twist things like, oh, like, I was speeding because I needed to get to work on time type of thing. But, like, you know, you still...
We're speeding.
And you could have left earlier. Like, but, oh, like, something happened. Like, you can still plan for the unexpected. Like things do... understandably happen, but you're like, oh, but I can't be late to work because I've been late a couple of other times. So like, well, that's still your problem.
Why were you late those other times?
That's still your problem. That's still like a choice that you made. And yeah, you know, it's always about just, I guess, preparation in a sense with that. Like, there's always something you could do beforehand to make sure that things don't happen.
It's like, man, I'm really worried. I'm a fraternity. Like, I hope we don't get caught hazing this semester. It's like, how about you just don't haze this semester? Well, we can't not haze. It's just part of the thing. It's like, why is it part of the thing? Well, because we've always been doing it. Well, if we've always been doing it...
What is that? That just makes it right? Like, two wrongs make it right?
No wrongs never make right. And it's like, it's one of those things like...
Two lefts make a circle.
Damn right, baby. And what did it say? To do the same thing over and over again? That's the definition of insanity. And it's very... All right, and like... It's not like you wake up one day and you can think about these things clearly. Like, this is like, you need to like actually be able to understand why you say these things. And like, I didn't like have these thoughts. Like, I used to think that there was nothing wrong with partying. There was nothing wrong with doing the things I did, until one day I logically sat there and be like, why do I think this is important? And not everyone can do that. And it's just like, you need to, like, not everyone will understand what we're saying too, right? Not everyone will grasp the point. Like, you'll hear something and like, you'll be like, well, that's stupid. Fraternities are cool. Drinking is cool.
And I think fraternities are cool.
I love being like, it was I came to college and I want to be part of fraternity, but not because of the fraternity itself. Well, they had cool shirts, but like,
Jack came in and was like, yeah, it's gonna be a great joke. Like, I'm just gonna join a fraternity to be a frat star.
I was like, yo, 30 rack Jack. I'm gonna drink a whole 30 rack because I'm cool, right? And then they changed it to 6-pack.
But we're always like, I remember it's like, oh, like people are like, oh, you're part of the frat, and you're like, oh, it's a fraternity. Would you call your country like?
No.
Like, come on. Like let's be real. Like, let's be realistic. Like,
frat's a cool word. It's way cooler than fraternity.
Fraternity, like, it doesn't really make a difference. It made the same exact thing.
But, and so we were sitting there, and Dan didn't know if he wanted to be in a fraternity, because, you know, he had the stereotype where he was like, well, you're just like a bunch of, I don't know, like, he's like,
I don't really think I had a knowledge of anything. I was just like,
It's like, what? Like, I don't know, he was indifferent. I was like, well, what else are you going to do, man? And then here we are, I've transferred to 3 different schools, and Dan was president of the fraternity. And it's just like, I know, so like, I always, and then like, the thing about Dan is Dan's a very like low-key guy, right? So coming in, they were almost like Dan didn't show a lot of enthusiasm about it, and I did, and they were like, so we'd go to all these things, hang out at the time, and then they were like, well, we want to let Jack in, and then we're like, well, what about Dan though? He's just like quiet, and we probably won't even do anything. And I knew the whole time, I was like, well, I know Dan's hardworking, he's gonna do something great. Like, I never thought we weren't going to get in for a second, but then after we found out with bids and stuff, they're like, well, yeah, Dan, we had to fight for you. And we had, shout out to our guy, Evan
Horvath, living in South Carolina.
Stonewall for my friend here. But
he's the owner of my fantasy basketball team. I'm basically his GM, just to run it. He paid for me to be in the league, and then if I win the league, I'll like pay. I've got to pay out, and like he'll get his money back.
Like, speaking of Evan Horace, now we bring it up too, right? Evan is the definition of someone that will do something, and he doesn't need to, like, Evan is the definition of he just does something because he genuinely cares. Like, he doesn't need you to like tell him sorry. He'll just do something out of the goodness of his heart. And he's such an asshole about in normal that like people that don't know him would be like, that guy's an asshole, and like they don't like him. But like deep down, he's one of the like most caring people. I feel like
the best is when like this guy Evan, he'll be like, you'll randomly just be sitting around and like he'll get a call and he'll talk to you about just like shit for like 45 minutes, like out of the blue. Like, he's just one of those guys. It's like, how's it going? Like,
and so,
seeing how you're doing, and then tell you how he's doing, and then saying, all right, well, now I gotta go. See ya.
And now I think back about it too, right? So Evan used to be the treasurer of a fraternity, right? So anytime we would want to like take out money, we'd be like, well, we got to talk to Evan first, right? And Evan would make you literally have a piece of paper with like all these points why he should let you have this money. Like, it was all of our money as an organization, but he was so strict and so like sensible with the money that like you would need to explain to him why he should let you, because his mindset was like, you shouldn't get it, and you got to tell him why you should. And like, that's like kind of going at our perspective now, I'd say, like both of us have about college and stuff. It's like, we used to be the, dude, just give us the money, man. Just give us the money. Whereas like now we're the Evans. We're like, well, why should we just give you the money? Why should we just let you party? Like, what are you actually trying to achieve by doing this? And you're like, oh man, like, I don't know what I'm trying to achieve. I just want to have a good time. It's like, man, you can't always just have a good time. Like
money is money. Like, just because it is everybody's money, like it's just, so it doesn't come from like nowhere. Like, you still gotta work for it.
It's like,
like there was one example that this kid, like there was, we went to basically this convention thing, which is a big celebration, and we were in a hotel room, and the kid that was having a party in the hotel room, like there's a bunch of damage to his hotel room, and he got like charged $200, and came back and like, basically he wanted the fraternity to pay for it because we were all partying in there. But it's like, you also made the choice to have the party in there. Like, I love that kid to death. And like, it was all the one that was having a party. I love that kid to death. He's awesome. But it was also just like, that's like, you can't rely on that. Like, you got to know that you shouldn't be having a party in your room. And it's like, but like, I understand you are the party guy, but like, that's what's the consequence of having a party, that your room gets destroyed.
You gotta look at it, right? So like,
you can't look for someone to bail you out.
Well, that's what our whole generation is. We're just looking for bail. It's like, okay, I got $50,000 in debt, dude. It's just money, dude. It's monopoly money until your senior year comes, right? Everyone gets that. Like, so like in high school, you get the senioritis where you don't want to try. I mean, it's the same thing in college, right? You're 4 credits away from graduating, and you're about to work a real job, right? But like, there's also the back of your mind, you're thinking about all this debt that like you've like agreed to take on. And then, like, because it wasn't real until now. And now this money is, like, you understand the value of money, especially as you go through college. Like, man, I've been poor a lot. Being poor is not fun. Not being, like, having to steal hot dogs is not fun. It's like, wait, now I have to pay something. Like, college wasn't just given to me. I forgot. Like, I had to, like, work for it. And, like, I had to almost, like, sell your soul in a sense to this bank to be like, yo, man, thanks for this money that now you're going to charge interest on, and I'm going to have to pay for 30 years like it's a mortgage on my house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To work something that you probably didn't even want to do. And you're like, dude, was that party, was that sick kegger that one time, though, with the cheap beer at the house where you banged that freshman? Was that worth it, though? She was pretty hot, to be fair.
But it was a good experience, bro.
Dude, but I learned what I didn't want, so therefore it's right, man.
The best things you definitely learn in college is definitely, it's without a doubt not in the classroom. It's more like, you gotta, like, yeah, I don't regret going to college and like coming out being in debt, and like I don't regret anything that I ever really did, like, because it's like you
can never regret, because
like you do in any way, shape, or form, like good or bad, like you do learn things from it. And you know, one of them in college is like a very good example. Like, you know, like I came in, you know, thinking that like with the same mindset of like everything is going to just like fall my way. Like everything's fine. Like I'm kind of like high school. Like everything's fine. Like I'm gonna like figure it out, and like everything's going to be basically easy. But like it's not. Like not everything is easy. But that's also the fun part about it. And like through those experience of like struggling and meeting different people, it's like it is the best way. It is the best thing that you learn in college, is that like it's not 100% not in the classroom. It's like figuring out what a friend is, what a friend isn't, what you know, like what you actually enjoy doing. It's like you can't figure out all the things that you actually enjoy doing, but as I'm going back, it's like you're able to eliminate some of the things that you don't like, and that's just as important. That is easily the most important thing that I've learned in college. And it's not like anything dumb, like the I don't know, some random psychology guy. Like exactly, like I'm never gonna need to know about like this lady that like, you know, made groundbreaking discoveries in the psychology of personality. I need to know like I don't need to know her name and like her life and how she came up with it, but it's good to know like what her conclusions were. And that's about it.
Well, that's about
how you can utilize it. But you also learn that by like looking at people and analyzing people. So it's literally like the best learning experience.
The world's your classroom, man.
Yeah, like exactly. It's just going through life and like kind of going into things like blindly with your eyes like wide open, like not being scared to go into things, but just like doing it like with like your eyes wide open and like listening to things and observing things and reflecting on things, but not being scared to go into them and be like, ooh, it's gonna be bad. You know what I mean?
I'd like to think that this podcast, though, that like for if you're in high school and you're listening, and they're like you're like about to go to college or a senior, maybe you're a little bit younger. I want you to realize too, though, that like you don't like our point being is college. You don't learn anything from the classroom. I mean, yes, college is a great experience, but it's not something like you can learn those in the real world too, man. You can like get a real job like out of college, or you can have a passion or something, a trade. I don't know, but like. Don't waste and know what you learn too in college, how much you should appreciate your parents when they have food for you or like at your house. And like the idea of like how it's nice when your mom makes your bed or when your mom does your laundry. Like when you do that stuff yourself, like there's gonna be a point in your life, like if you're hopefully successful and you can move out, that like you don't have to worry, like you gotta do stuff yourself. And it's nice when someone's taking care of the little things. Cause like the more you like venture out in the world, you got to realize like you're taking care of a lot more than you thought it was like as a kid. It's like when you go home after being college, like stealing hot dogs, and like your fridge is stocked with food, and your parents are like,
"There's no food. Like we gotta like get takeout." And you're like, look in the fridge, and you're like, "If I had about this amount of food in my fridge, like at school, I would be happy, more than happy."
And it's like a lot of people like to be like, well, when people don't go to college, like they like start making money right away, but like eventually it will all even out, right? It's like, well, they'll never have the college debt. So like, and it's like, happiness isn't like about partying, and happiness isn't about like the stuff. Guess what? Because you have friends in college, and if you're your real friends, you can go visit them and experience the stuff. But also, if you are intelligent and you love to learn, you should always be learning, and you should always strive to learn more. But that doesn't mean you need to learn it through a college classroom. But some sort of say, like, you want to be an engineer or a doctor, go to college, because you can't do that without college.
Yeah.
But also,
I'm just going to teach myself how to do
I mean, I guess technically you could.
vasectomies.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to trust that. But I'm sure there's underground doctors for like criminals and stuff. You get shot, and he's like, I can't go to the hospital. I'll go to the underground doctor in the shed with his rusty nail. He'll save me. But at the same point, it's all about what you want to do. And if you don't know what you want to do, it's better to kind of save your money. And like that's like one of those things, right? It's so easy for me or Dan to say that now. And like, well, we did college. So like, yes, looking back, we don't regret college, but like, I don't think it is like beneficial for everyone to go to college, especially in today's society. It's like, we're running out of trades. And it's like, who am I to tell you should do a trade? Like, you think you can run a business? Guess what? If you're smart enough to get a business degree, you should be smart enough to go online and read a business book. It's the same thing. I learned everything.
I think if you don't know what you want to do, like college, like I said, like before, like a million times, it helps you eliminate things that you don't want to do. And like, I don't think that, if you don't know what you want to do, I wouldn't say that don't go to college at all until you figure it out. Like, I think what your best bet probably would be to do, in my opinion, is to probably take a couple of classes at like your local community college, like that you're still learning the same stuff.
But Dan, dude, I can't like be in the dorm and like drink like beer, dude. That's not fun. Why would I want to do that?
Yeah, but then people around you as well will tell you that, like, influence you to like what you think you want to do. And I think the best thing is like to be alone and think about what you want to do, because people around you are like, oh, this is the best way to get rich. Like, oh, this is how I'm going to get rich.
Misery loves company, right?
This is exactly what I'm going to do. But all we like really do is just talk about it. But like, they aren't actually doing anything, and like they don't even work a part-time job. You know,
the first time you do something, you're going to think it's the best ever, depending on if you really like it, right? It's like, I'm sure that's why I would never do heroin, because I heard heroin probably is a good time the first time you do it, but no one has ever done heroin and been like, I really don't regret doing heroin. They always regret it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way too, right? Like college is not like doing heroin. Maybe something, depending on if you're getting incredible amounts of debt and you're not intelligent, it almost is as bad because you're kind of fucked the same way. But you need to look at it this way too, right? It's like this. The more you listen to this podcast, we're gonna talk about being honest and being real. And like, if people are real about their time, their freshman year in college, most of them will probably say it's overrated. But if they're like, when you're in a crap ton of debt, when you're in $40,000 of debt and you're going to school, like, you don't want to tell yourself that it's overrated. You need to think of every reason to yourself why it is worth doing what you're doing. Because you don't want to be like, dude, what do you mean? It really wasn't that fun. I didn't really learn anything. It was stupid. And it's tough to be like, well, I just wasted $40,000. But it's like, they say the mark of a great man is someone that can risk it all, lose everything, and yet be ready to start again tomorrow, right? Mm. So, like, sometimes you need to bite the bullet, take the L, go on to the next day ready to, like, power forward.
But also, like, another aspect of that, though, like a loser's mentality is someone that says, like, this is, like, a huge waste of time. Like, you can, like I remember we've said it before that, like, you gotta find the value in anything. Like, there is, yes, college is a huge overpriced thing. It's overvalued, but like I would argue that it's not exactly a waste of time unless you make it a waste of time.
But the problem is, right, it's like one of those things, right? Like, it's like, dude, I want to drop out, and you're like, dude, that's not a smart decision. I'm like, well, these people have done it, and it's like, well, are you those people? And you're like, no. It's like, we like to think of everyone in like the goodness, like you'd like to think of everyone in extremes, right? It's like the worst person, people that drop out. When you think of dropouts, you're like, well, they're like the most successful people. But then you think of people that you know that have dropped out, and it's like, are they really that successful? Do I know anyone that's the most successful people I know that didn't go to college have like our friend who works for the elevator. He's in the elevator union, makes $40 like $1 an hour. He has a great job.
Matt.
Yeah. So like he didn't go to college. He went to some community college classes and he has a great living. The people that I know that have dropped out from school, they're not necessarily doing the best. It's like once you're in college, you're forever labeled something. Like it's tough in our society is we like to label people right away, right? Like It's like you're a dropout. Like it's like if I have a conspiracy theory, you are labeled a conspiracist, like conspiracy theorist, and therefore like your mind has a way of picking up that word and already having a notion about what you think about that. So like you don't even like. It's like if I told you that goes back to Harvard thing. Like if I tell you I'm from Harvard, you're already think I'm smart. If I tell you I'm a dropout, you're already gonna be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So that's when you need to look at it too, right? It's like college is worth it, what you're willing to put in, but you need to be real with yourself why you want to go. And I think like most of us will tell you that are seniors, they'll say, I came here because I wanted to party and have a good time, and I thought I was going to be some hot shit, top of the line, smarter. I'm not going to party. I remember with like freshman year, we walked in and we were like, he's like, yeah, you guys like think you're going to go to the gym every day. You think you're going to like
be in great shape.
Be in great shape. He's like, be honest with yourselves. You're not going to do. You're going to do it for 2 weeks.
We'll sleep till 2.
Yep.
We'll stay in our beds all weekend and then not leave unless we're going to the gym, like going to a dining hall or the party. Yeah.
He'll be like, oh yeah, guys, party tonight, Friday. Get out of class at 11. It's like, do start drinking now. Yeah. Let me start drinking. It's like 6 o'clock. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty tired now. Take a nap and then take a nap.
It's like sleep through the party. It's like, you were like, where were you? Like,
dude, what do you mean? That was a great experience, man. We learned a lot. It's like we tend to have this thing where like, will you just remember the good times? And like a lot of times if something is bad, you only remember bad times. So it's like when you break up with someone, it's like they were the worst. I think about the bad times, but it's like there's a reason you started dating. There were probably some good times too in the beginning. It's like, but then it's like at the same point, it's like, dude, I learned so much in college. It's like, but like how many days were you actually in college for? You were in college a lot. And it's like, did you learn something important every day?
Unless you wanted to.
It's like, no, probably not. Every day that you strive to learn something, I think, is an important day. But yeah, so I mean, if you have any last remarks, Dan, you'd like to share, just about your time, advice, and what is your future outlook now that like you're a senior, four credits away? Can't believe
4 credits away. Well, I'm probably moving off campus. It's gonna be litty. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get a job and relocate from the country and. Yeah.
From the country?
Or, I'm sorry, relocate down to Florida because we're up here in New Hampshire at the moment. But we'll see. Like I already have a job lined up, and yeah, I mean, I guess my last remarks is I've tried to say it before as well that it's literally just everything you make out of it. Like yeah, I would caution you for going to a school that you're spending too much money on because I remember that like when it's hard to value $20,000 when you're just signing a loan. You think it's just free money. It's hard to value your meal plan because it's just swipes. But it does all have a value, and if you don't really reflect on it and you don't try to make that experience good and try and learn and be gracious of everything that you have, then it is basically will be a big waste of time. So just like my big thing is just you got to go in with the right mindset.
And it's very tough though when we were in high school, you're in the high school mindset, right? Like some people in high school never partied. Some people in high school were so sheltered, they just want to get away. And I understand that, but the problem is that a lot of it goes back to if you're very sheltered, it's when you start getting to college, you get the taste of party, and it's literally like a drug. You are so into this thing that was forbidden. That now it's I need to keep doing this forever and ever, and it's if that's why you want to go to college, and you are honest with yourself, do not go to college for the parties. If you just think that you're gonna be okay, you're just gonna get some business degree, you just want to party, and you'll get some job after. It's that. I could save your life by telling you don't waste the money on doing that because you're only going to regret it, and you're going to be so angry with yourself later in life when you look back that it's tough. But
I would also recommend that I'm a big believer in you gotta you can sit here and listen to us and take our advice and believe us, but I'm also a big believer in you do have to experience things on your own. You gotta. My dad would always say, don't smoke weed or whatever. Don't ever try cocaine or whatever. But it's I believe. I'm not saying do coke and smoke weed all the time. But
do heroin. Never do heroin.
Don't do. I'm not saying.
I know heroin's
but
bad.
I'm saying be real with yourself. Whenever you're trying things, know what you're gonna try, and have a reason for it. And yeah, just. Don't waste your college degree by not
understanding,
being gracious of every experience you get, and not reflecting on it. Make sure that you're learning something, and know that everything teaches a lesson, every little thing. Not, I said, college isn't a waste. It can be a waste if you let it be a waste. But be smart. Be smart with whatever you spend your college career doing.
Exactly. And make sure that you are, again, college is great because you get to be around people. The thing is, you go into high school, you probably most people aren't open-minded in a sense. You have you hang with one group, your one group of friends, and college gets you to see that, hey, maybe people that I didn't think were this way, or maybe I didn't think I could be friends with, you can be oh wait, we all can get along. And the thing is though, you need to have the mindset that what you're doing is sometimes being in college will put you in the position that you want to drink. Sometimes it's better not to be in a position to do something bad because it's very hard to, once you're in a position, to not be peer pressured to do things. And it's you know yourself best. Again, it all goes back to only you know you. So
you gotta you listen to what yourself is telling you. But yeah, no, Jack, I appreciate you having me on.
As always, it's been a pleasure.
These get degrees.
These get degrees, A's or frassels, and I hope you tune in to our next episode. Like and subscribe, rate 5 stars, tell your friends, and hope to see you at a college campus or doing something good in the world, or I don't know, being nice to everyone. Just tell your mom you love her. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Seal, play us out.
Bye.
And I'm never gonna dance again.